この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and I am here for Dungeon Meshi episode 19. After the catastrophic reveal of Fallen's transformation, last episode was a pretty welcome reprieve, a bit of a return to form as our characters ventured further into the dungeon, found themselves in the canal layer, which is supposed to be hot and humid and temperate, but is instead blizzard-ridden, and then were captured in the thrall of a shape-shifting beast, or a group of shape-shifting beasts, which all turned out to be the manifestations of a predatory nine-tailed fox kitsune-esque creature using these spirits and manifestations of the psychic models that everybody has for their party members to create facsimiles of them and keep them all distracted before it attacked. Laios figured it out because he's a smart cookie who loves his monsters, and we go straight from dealing with the dog to dealing with the cat. There is a stray cat, and she has made her appearance and made some threats, and I'm wondering what it is exactly that Akebi wants. At first, I was sort of running on this kind of like unconscious impression that she just got left behind for no reason. I didn't really evaluate it effectively. It was like, oh, they're just leaving and she's off doing whatever, and she just didn't come along with. But they left her in the middle of a freaking dungeon, and they were just kind of like, it's fine, she'll be okay. So I'm really wondering if she's got like a deeper mission here or something serious that she's really all about. Whether that's a part of Shuro's party and they all know about it, or if Akebi is actually something more important and is like, I don't know, a spy or something crazy. But we'll have to find out in this next episode. I'm excited to discover more about this character, mostly because she's been entirely a mystery up until this point. All of the other party members for Shuro kind of made their characteristics known to us. We kind of got a read on them, but Akebi, aside from being kind of standoffish and not showing her face and kind of being off in the corner doing her own thing, those don't really give us much insight into what she's actually all about. So, we're going to have to find out if she is friend, foe, or somewhere in between, some strange, mysterious purpose that she is laden with that might be able to be aligned with us for a little while. She seems like she just wants something from us, and I don't know what that could be. We'll have to find out. So, we've got Akebi lined up. We just did the doppelgangers, gang, and that's the shtick. That's the spiel. That's where we're at. Some brewing things in the background. I mentioned this last episode, but I'm worried about Marcille. We haven't focused in on it. We haven't really honed in on it, but her general affect has shifted slightly darker. I think she's having a harder time with this now, having done the black magic thing. I think it weighs really heavily on her, and I would love if we explore that a little bit. We don't necessarily have to. It can keep building in the background until it bubbles up and explodes, or I might be misinterpreting and it's not meant to be what it seems to be to me, but it's a really interesting line, and I'd like to pursue it. I'd like to pursue this, like, what happens when you make deals with the devil, when you do dark magic, when you have that weight on you, how do you go forward in life? How do you continue? Having done something that you are ashamed of and regret, but not feeling like you had another choice, how do you reconcile that? And then how do you make that interact with the outside world, who probably are going to judge you for doing the thing, regardless of whether you can internally justify it or come up with reasons or like come to a peace with yourself. The world may never be able to be at peace with you, and that really scares me. And I'm interested to see what Dungeon Meshi does with that. And finally, for this intro portion, before we get into the episode, before I turn my attention to a drawing, before I tell you about D&D stuff, I have been implored a couple of times to go back on over to episode 1 and to watch through the opening sequence again. So that's actually how we're going to open this episode, this video. And I'm just gonna like edit through it so that it doesn't mess with things. Mostly, we're just looking at the subtitle dialogue as we do the opening sequence, but we're just gonna pull up the opening sequence and give it a little bit of a watch right now. A rift under the cemetery. A single man, who I now believe is the sun Delgal. And then whoosh, he disappears into dust. Okay, so we don't get told that it is Delgal here, that it is like young Delgal. The king was Sverglal or something. He's a different guy. I had a misinterpretation where I thought it was Delgal the older and Delgal the second. That's incorrect. The king who was slain is the old king, and his name starts with an S or something, and honestly doesn't matter. The child of that king, which is who the magician has been seeking after this entire time, we believe is the man who crawled to the surface and offered his kingdom to anybody who would defeat the lunatic magician. So my guy was running for like 1,000 years, unable to die probably because of the nature and curse on the dungeon, and running away from the lunatic magician who really just wants to like protect him and bring the kingdom back to fruition, like to whatever it's supposed to be. His glorious land continues to be held captive deep underground. Then he offers the kingdom to anyone who should kill the magician, and then he vanishes into dust. So honestly, there's nobody to fulfill that promise, is there? It's just relying on like the logic of the dungeon itself in order to do that. Or maybe the assumption is that if you kill the lunatic magician, you'll gain access to his power. But that's interesting. There are some wrinkles here that are like, ooh, what a tempting thing, but maybe if I do this, it's gonna go bad. Huh. 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 Okay. Having done this, part of the reason I wanted to is that I'm desperately seeking inspiration. I am going to be running a game of Shadow Dark, D&D, tabletop RPG, whatever, in 6 hours and 40 minutes. About 7 hours. It's 6 o'clock tonight, and I'm not ready. I've got a really cool encounter room idea brewed up that I've had sort of fumbling around in the back of my head for weeks and weeks now, and I don't know how it's gonna work. I'm a little overwhelmed by it. So here's the overall. We've gone over this a couple of times. This whole dungeon is like a tomb built by heroes from 1,000 years ago in order to plant the seeds of a new heroic age 1,000 years from now. Now being now the present. Our player characters have entered with a gaggle of idiot peasants, all randomly rolled characters who fled an uprising of beastmen and fled to this like temple tomb that's up in the mountains that they're not really supposed to go to because it's dangerous and there are lots of weird legends around it, but they went there anywhere because there was nowhere else to go. They began exploring the place and discovered that it was, in fact, the like tomb that holds the bodies and legacies of these ancient heroes from a long distant age, and it's built as kind of an obstacle course or a proving ground for new heroes to emerge to claim the relics that these heroes have left behind. They're like artifacts and swords and stuff, as well as information that they might have about the nature of the universe, the battle between law and chaos, and sort of like the fundamental pieces of that battle, the little levers that humans might have a chance of actually pushing, shifting, changing, and making an impact on the world. I do want this to have like large epic fantasy stakes, but I also want the characters to be kind of sucked into like a a cosmic battle that's much larger than them, that they might be able to just turn the little, be the pebble in the river. That's kind of the vibe that I would like. And I'd like it to be very high mortality and for them to be able to die and it not to matter for the like prophecy type of stuff that's going on here. So here's my final room. My final room, and parts of it are locked in because I've already described them to the characters. Otherwise, I'd be able to change them. The characters walk in after clearing the previous room, and this is very clearly the largest room in the dungeon. It's like 80 feet across, maybe more. I might have to math it out in my brain. and the whole of the room is built after what's called an armillary sphere, which I'll put a picture of right here. And kind of built off of one of those, and kind of built off of the idea of a gyroscope, which I'll put right here. Maybe I can find a GIF of it or something. So I'm imagining it's a huge room with this giant astronomical, astrological model thing that starts to chunk chunk begin spinning as they enter the room. Okay. So that's what I've definitely described. And at the center of the armillary sphere, there's a disc, and it's got like a topo map, like a three-dimensional map laden on it that's a fairly accurate map of the real planet world that our characters are standing on right now. And in the midst of that, probably right where they are, probably right in their town, there's a big old sword stuck into it. Okay, that's what I've described so far. The characters are immediately focused on the sword. There are these big spinning metal rings going multiple directions all around the thing. And then there's this like spherical room around the whole of the situation. Just mapping this out in my mind is hard enough. Trying to layer it together with like effective dice rolls and challenges that would make it really interesting and turn it into a super interesting dynamic combat that will be actually fun and be a thing that was going to take up like 2 to 3 hours of in-game playtime. That's hard. And then when I fold in that I really want it to have meaning, I come to a significant problem, which is that I kind of have to know where the whole story is going, or at least some key pieces of it beforehand. That's tough, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. So, what I want to do right now is just try to sketch it a little bit. Just try to sketch this complicated ass crazy room. And just doing that is going to help me lock it into my mind a little bit. And often when I sketch things out with like that, I come up with things once I'm trying to visualize it that I didn't see or wouldn't have thought of that are often like emergent out of a mistake of a line or like a little scribble that I end up doing. And it's like, oh, maybe there's like a trap there or like a gear or a console or like a shining gem or something. And I can go off of that. All this to say, that's sort of the challenge that I'm churning through. I will be, over the course of the next few hours after Dungeon Meshi is done and edited and everything, I'll be coming up with some like dynamic action tables to be rolled every dungeon turn, kind of like lair actions. And I'll be coming up with maybe monsters that will spawn into this space and harry the players and prevent them from achieving their goal. Overall, I'd like it to be like you are the bearers of a mission of cosmic significance that's going to require you to go to various planes and other planets, even, although that concept might not equate in the minds of the characters, it might for the players. You might have to go to other planes and like explore the cosmos in order to either like gather a bunch of different artifacts to bring them together to accomplish something, or to like do something and set something to right in each of those planes so that you can eventually like set something to right in the center of the universe. Something like that. So I'm going to put the camera down and I'm just going to sketch like a weird sphere thing for a little bit. And I hope that that's fun. And I hope that it gives me some good ideas. And then we will return from there to the episode of Dungeon Meshi, where maybe I'll come up with more ideas. Maybe it'll deliver unto me some other interesting bits of inspiration. There's been so much over the course of me running this set of D&D games and stuff that I've taken pieces of inspiration from Dungeon Meshi. Not like direct things, like we're not cooking in the dungeon and like and dealing. I'm not stealing clay golems or earth golems or anything like that, but stuff like integrated ecosystems that have an obvious place that the monsters are getting food and an obvious place where their waste ends up going and feeding some other piece of the ecosystem. Weaving those in has added a lot of really cool elements to my stories and to my like my environments and encounters and stuff. So I really value that insight from Dungeon Meshi, that bit of inspiration. Okay, enough blather. Let me scribble a weird sphere thing. I was kind of thinking that this would be like this, and then like delving down into a like a sort of pit of darkness. There's lots of like shadow and darkness theming, so the idea that there might be like a sphere of annihilation down here, or a black hole, or like just a void space or an extra dimensional space down here seems really interesting to me. And then like creatures could spawn up out of it, like wraiths or spirits or something could spawn up out of it and harry the players as they're going around trying to figure out what the puzzle is and how stuff works. I think because of the nature of like spinning rings around other spinning rings, that there will be at least 1 or 2 like layers of rings that have to be magical, that have to be like suspended magically over the thing, because otherwise they'll interconnect with each other. They'll hit each other. So I'm not sure how to manage that. I know that if I just describe it and I kind of gloss over it, the players probably won't notice. They'll probably be like, well, it's whatever. It's just spinning rings around a thing. It's fine. It makes sense. But it's gonna mess with me, and so I'd really rather have some piece of the logic of it put together. So when I look at gyroscopes often have like rings that are linked to the next ring inside, like this. I wish I had a circle that I could like resize. I wish I had, you know what I wish I had? I wish I had a compass set. I have a compass set. Oh, okay. All right. What if instead of these being like a circular ring or something like that, what if they're flat? And what if you like jump to one of them, they have independent gravity? So you... what if they have independent gravity? So you like get stuck to it, you're like thunk, and then you can like walk around it, and maybe on the ring, on each of the rings is the puzzle. Ooh. Okay. And then the last thing, I was thinking that there might be, in the way that there are on real armillary spheres, these sort of dials. And then there would be another one back here. Okay, how many rings did I draw? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 spinning rings, and then I drew the 4 like cardinal direction big line things. And then wonder maybe constellations on the walls. Something puzzly there. Maybe that's the way we stop the first ring or something like that. Okay. This has helped me frame things out in my mind, or at least see them. I'm still not sure what to do about stuff. I had an inclination that maybe each of the rings progressively is its own plane that it represents. So you jump onto it and then you can walk around on the spinning ring while it's all spinning. And maybe the like random rolls will be like the machine ka-chunks, and anybody standing on a ring has to like hold on or risk getting knocked off and thrown out of this apparatus and maybe killed. Okay. Actually solving the puzzle and what it means to get the sword out of the middle, which I should probably draw in just so that I make sure that I remember that it's in there. That part, I don't really know yet. I was thinking through the like cosmology of this world and the basics setup. I was wanting to really hone in and focus on the dark light balance enmity sort of situation. And I wrote out this story as like an origin myth where the initial creator gods do their thing, and then there's like a heavenly host of lesser deities and stuff, and one of them betrays the others in order to perform weird experiments and stuff in darkness. I'm thinking maybe they did that here, and it's their influence that's causing the Shadow Dark, all of this darkness and all the monsters that come from it, and the sort of depths of despair that come from deep within the earth. Maybe I can wrap that into the metaphor of the sword that's been plunged deep into the planet. Like maybe this ancient being has like tethered themselves to something central in this world, and by going and finding them and like breaking them out of it, we could rid our plane of their evil influence. I don't really know. It hasn't clicked yet, but I think it will. Thanks for bearing with me while I scribble some stuff. I think it's pretty neat and kind of fun, and I'm probably going to end up doing 2 or 3 more iterations of it before I actually run D&D this evening. Okay, with that finished up and my brain's all scrambled, let's go ahead and watch the next episode of Dungeon Meshi and find out what this stray cat wants. What is Akebi after? And are we going to run into other monsters and have to, like, fight them along with Akebi? Is she going to be, like, a temporary party member for a couple of episodes, just venturing along with us? Or is her set of desires completely adversarial toward ours? Is there no common ground for us? Let's find out in episode 19 of Dungeon Meshi. I've got the episode up and ready to go. There'll be 2 versions, picture-in-picture in the description, timer on YouTube, early access on the Patreon. Thank you very much for subscribing to the Patreon. It is the only reason that I can continue to make these videos, and I appreciate it so immensely I cannot describe. Beep beep timer. Woo! Sure thing. Shit. Which spells? You're under spells? Hmm. I think she might be wrong. Oh, little floof. Oh, okay. Engineered? Oh. Oh. Oh, this plays in so much. So wait. Did Akebi stay with us in order to get these undone to them? Why wouldn't you just tell us? Does it bind her as a slave? Fucking panty shot for Senshi. Hmm. That's the first time we've actually seen a ration pellet. Now let me make you some real food. We're not friends. Oh. Aww. Hmm. Everything's monsters, dude. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Gonna. Oh, okay. Are we making a risotto? Poor guy. He's got all these ingredients. He's not allowed to use them. Protective. Yeah. Mushroom and cheese risotto. Mmm. Ii nioi. Genuinely beastly. No, I think she's just terrible. Yeah. I might be wrong about Akebi being a girl. The whole set of retainers were all female, so I kind of guessed. Why? Doesn't. Yeah. What? What? Ah! Is it? Ah! Oh, shit. You can try. You can try. We're not gonna fuck around anymore. Oh. Like a pencil. Like a pencil. Not this way. This way. Oh, okay. No, doesn't care. Paper? I thought it was. Does she have a cooking spirit built into her? What the fuck? It's gonna get broken. Break that knife. Break that knife! Yeah, you gotta use your tools properly. What? What was that? He just carried a giant set of feet and smashed her with it. What was that? Okay, we go with girl. This is very serious business. It's like Chilchuck with his. Oh. And her staff. Friendship. Friendship. Akebi has no way to understand. Oh, it was the cooking circle. So it's a personal desire. So once you found one, yeah, but she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that, though. You're the closest I could get. Oh, I wouldn't bring that up. So you can break curses. So you can break my curse. So excited. I don't think we can. We don't know how to save Fallen. Yeah. Mmm. Mmm. Oh. You're stuck like this. Yeah, so why are we going after Fallen then? To end her? Yeah, she's dangerous. And also she's suffering. So we have to do something. This is great. This is great. We're really spending time parsing through all the... You fucking pervert. You fucking pervert. You weirdo. Weirdo with one thing on his mind. But maybe she could be like you, more balanced, not overcome by it. You want to join our party? Where else are you gonna go? Yeah, where else are you gonna go? You gonna just wander on out of here solo? Oh, I thought I've completely been mistaking your name the entire time. It's Asebi, not a Kebi. So we've got an insane cat girl with a monster inside. Oh, that's a T-Rex. Is this a dream? Whoa, are his parents like wealthy? Definitely a dream. Yo, he's mm, mm. Yeah, he's not beating the allegations. Nice, he's realized it. You're lucid now. Asleep. Oh, oh, are we gonna focus in? Oh, she's really tired. I wonder if she will get her dreams too. Wow, 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 wow. Oh, shit. Yeah, she's dreaming. Holy shit, it's like it's a creature? We are gonna get to see. Yeah, let's dream meld. Inception. You got it, Laios. Oh. That's a reference to something. Oh! What? As long as it makes sense in dream logic, it makes. Oh. Fuck yeah, lucidity. Okay, here we are in Marcille's desaturated space. I bet we can do some cool stuff here. Oh, pictures? Memories, maybe? Oh, child. A child in her own mind, huh? Hiding behind her own portrait? Magic itself, I wonder? Hmm. Directly analogous to the reality. We're doing cool stuff with the black and white. It feels like an embodiment of all black magic. An amalgam of monsters. Yeah, where's the wound? Mm. Hmm. Oh, he's going to monster thinking. Yeah. I think as long as it makes sense in the dream logic, it's fine. Ah. Regardless of whether you know what it is, it's gonna eat you. Oh, he protects her. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's eating you too. Uh. Uh. Can you just disbelieve? Or does Marcille have to? I think it's magic. Fallen. Yeah, that's the wound. We're going in and through? Okay. Not a thing you should say. I mean, face your fears. Oh my god. Hmm. Death. I still don't get it. The grave, the funeral. Oh, that makes sense. It's like a shift on the classic elf thing. It seems empowered. God, the music has been incredible. Oh, wow, that was... Yeah, it was empty. Her mind is full. That was adult her. Temptation. Whoa! Wish for it in your dream? Frog hand. Whoa. Bookhammer. Get some rest. She's alright. She doesn't actually have the book, right? That would be fucking crazy. Can we eat them? Yeah, what do dreams taste like? Cheddar? Simple. Oh, dreams. Whoa. That is inaccurate. Yeah. Whoa. What a trip. What an absolute trip of an episode. That ding dang book. What a trip of an episode. This was really fun. We knock out the Asbbe stuff quickly, but it's got resounding ramifications for all kinds of other stuff. Asbbe makes some, and I called Asbbe Akebi for the whole first half of this video, so whoops. Akebi, I did it again. Asbbe makes some assumptions about Marcille, which kind of make a lot of sense. You're like, science caused my problems. You're a scientist. You can fix my problems. And she's like, I'm an astrophysicist and a biological engineer did this. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I can't help you. But it's like, you're the closest thing I've got, so you're gonna work on it. And I'm gonna threaten you until that happens. We get a really interesting, I said stray cat, and I think that's a really clear read for Asebbe's personality and character. It's like, there's no negotiation. I take a power position and you do what I say because you're under threat of violence. It's very like, I grew up on the streets and nobody does anything for anybody else ever. Asebbe's totally unable and unwilling to accept help from people until overwhelmed by like, food, I need it, I need food, and then it all kind of vanishes away. But lots of layers of this person has been deeply traumatized for a very long time in lots of different ways, kinds of vibes from Asbbe here. Not quite what I expected, but very interesting. What a cool mystery. So it's unclear if it is in fact Maizuru who did the cast those spells on Asbbe. It seems like not. It seems like they've been like that for a very long time and don't know. But then they also seem to be like bound to it because they have to be touched frequently in order to like reset the magic. Otherwise, bad shit happens. Presumably, the big spirit monster appears and tries to kill her, or kill whoever's nearby. Damn, what an interesting, potentially temporary addition to our party. Not a character archetype that I would have expected here at all. But the way that her actions cause everybody else to make moves, the way that she pisses Senshi off enough that he starts actually being kind of parental, kind of authoritative, and like, there are right and wrong ways to do things, and you have upset the natural balance of the universe. Hold your spoon properly. Kind of funny. And there's There's a characterization or a tone to the way that Senshi talks that I think is really powerful. It's rooted in a lot of the way that I've seen, like, really effective trained psychotherapists engage with certain elements that are really difficult. And what I've seen as, like, example pieces or recommended examples in parent-child rearing contexts for, like, how do you handle when, the child is, like, insistent on a particular thing and it's not good for them and you want to change them to doing something else? Like, how do you explain that to a child in a way that makes sense? Or in this case, a person with certain parts of their personality that are still stuck in that childlike stage is, I think, a good way of characterizing Asebi. And I think a good way of characterizing, like, everybody, like, everybody. Everybody has parts of their person that get stuck, that get, like, stopped, and their development on those particular fronts stops because they get traumatized or they find a pattern that works and they never have to experiment past it. And I think that a huge part of maturing, like what it means to mature, is finding the parts of yourself that are immature and bringing them up with you, right? There are some terms that are becoming relatively popular nowadays, terms like reparenting, um, or inner child work are kind of in the big spectra of the space that I'm talking about, and that's exactly what they're about. They're about finding the parts of you that are stymied or stuck and treating them like they're still the age that they were when you got stuck in them and bringing them up through their psychosocial development into being a whole person, you know? So it's like Asebi has no table manners, no interaction with other people manners, no negotiation strategy, no capacity to play games with other people. All of those things that are like foundations of our social abilities don't exist. This is a highly isolated person who's been relying on themselves and only themselves, or been under like an authority figure who's controlling them completely, and that's their whole experience of reality, or something like it, right? Like making inferences and making assumptions. How how do we find those pieces and, like, give that person the skills and the reasons to perform those skills, right? Because if a Sebi doesn't is like, "I don't give a shit about using manners, I like doing it this way," how do you bring them how do you we've talked before about getting people to do things that you want them to do and how it never works, and what you need to do is, like, explain to them or show them why they actually want to do the thing that you want them to do. So, Senshi wants Asebi to use the spoon properly. Why? Why would Asebi do this? Why does she care? She doesn't. This way works better for me. Fuck it. And he goes into this line that's like, I know that that makes a lot of sense, and it's probably the way that you've learned to do this, and it's worked for you up until this point. And then we get this sort of demonstrable example of the monster appears and uses the knife incorrectly, and the knife breaks. So it's like, that's why you've got to use your tools properly. And it kind of echoes a bunch of things, like Senshi's using his big shield, which is one of his primary tools, and he's sure as hell using it properly. And we had Chilchuk talking about the importance of his tools a little while ago, and even in that scene, we focus on Marcille holding her staff. It's like the tools that everybody uses are crucial and really important and should be treated with a degree of respect because they're an extension of you. And that's why you should hold your spoon a particular way, right? The opposite framework would be like, how fucking dare you? Or like, that's not how we hold spoons in this house. We hold them like this. We do it this way. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna do it that way because the alternative is that I get punished, but you haven't actually given me a reason to do it that way, except that you're gonna punish me. That's cool. That's cool. Um, there was a line that stood out to me really hard, and now I've forgotten what it was. Oh, yeah, it was this line. Senshi, while delivering a bowl of hot food, maybe things didn't unfold exactly as you'd hoped. But why not look at it from a positive angle, like it was fate at work? Whoa. I'm going to take a minute to think about this one because there's a piece of nuance that I want to make sure that I get at the very beginning before we dig any further into it. I want to make sure that I get it right. Okay, I want to start with the nuance. The nuance, or the caveat, the part that's sort of the fatal flaw of this strategy, is that it's a little bit dangerous to tell people this because there's real trauma and real struggle and real horror, and to ascribe those things to fate, to say like, oh, those things happened the way that they were meant to so that I could be the person that I want to, is a classic card in like the abuser's mindset playbook that says like, all the bad shit that I did for you was actually for your own good, and it's good that you went through all that suffering because now you're strong. And that's some fucking garbage bullshit. However, to now that I've said that, I think that that encompasses my caveat, my problem with it pretty effectively. That said, I think that human beings, and by extension humanoids in this world, are in many ways a construct of the stories that we tell ourselves about what happened. This is 100% true in the context of traumatic experiences. And we know this because there's been research done on it. Different people can go through the same fundamentally traumatic experiences and come out of it in a completely different way because of the way that they process, because of their attitude toward it, and because of the story that they tell themselves about what it was and how it happened. One of the most powerful things that you can do is to reframe struggles, problems, difficulties, failures as a part of an ongoing story. So, when we look at our lives, we very often look at where we're at as the end point. Like, everything that happened led me to here, and this is where I'm at, and now I have to decide where to go, but this is kind of like the end point. The branches go out from there. But this isn't the end point. This is just a point in a long, ongoing journey, and the trajectory of that journey may not be as clear to you as you think. One of the crazy things that you can do is, instead of attaching yourself to the problems and traumas of your past and saying, that's where I still am, if you can separate yourself from them and say, those are a part of who I was and will always be, but they're not locking me into where they were, you can actually place yourself up above them and draw a line that goes higher, that points further toward good, toward the upward direction, has an upward trajectory. And you can do that by really accepting how bad those things were and accepting what influence that has had on you, and by investigating and being clear about what strengths and superpowers those struggles may have given you. Immediately, when I started thinking about how to grapple with and address this framing, I thought of a book that I really like but have some problems with. The problems that I have with it are that it's a book written by a Navy SEAL, and it's very much in the sort of it's like an amalgamated space of like conservatives kind of lean into this stuff of individual autonomy and like real focus on the mental power to push through and all that stuff, which I think can be a little bit damaging but also very useful depending on context. I think they're just a tool in your toolkit, and it's important to know how to apply them. And where my brain went was the book by David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, which I read a couple of years ago, and it made a pretty strong impression on me. Goggins was a Navy SEAL for a while and has held records for ultramarathoning and like the most consecutive pull-ups for a while and like the most consecutive push-ups for a while. A bunch of physical feats that involve pushing your body beyond its stamina limits or pain limits. And that's really what he got very, very good at. And the book is about his whole life, his childhood leading right on up through it. And in the first couple of chapters, he lays out a deeply traumatic childhood, chock full of terrible racism, abuse by family, fleeing from different homes, all sorts of real struggles, like real difficulties. And over the course of the book, Goggins talks through how he converted those in his mind to like the starting point in his story. You know, when we start an anime and the main character gets introduced and they're a piece of shit, and kind of the only place they have to go from there is up. That's what this is like. It's reframing those pieces of your history that have been shit not as a part of who you are right now, but as things that made you stronger, as a training ground, as a perfect place for you to hone particular skills that have served you well over the course of your life. But now that you're a bit on the other side of it, it's time to pull back and evaluate those skills and see whether you could turn them on and off, whether you have to have them active all the time. People who go through trauma gain defense mechanisms like hypervigilance, like being super aware of the emotions of other people around them because they have to. Because if you're in engagement with a parent or a caretaker who can flip like a switch, you have to be able to evaluate whether they're like 5% upset. And that's a different space than if they're 0% upset and you're chill. And that's a different space between if they're 99% upset and they're just pretending to be chill. So you've got to have like a really honed instinct for telling what other people are doing. And that can become a superpower if you go into a field and you're engaged with other people and you're trying to read others and you're trying to communicate and negotiate and stuff. But it can also come online and totally hamstring you and destroy you because you'll think that everybody is out to get you all the time. But until you wrap that up, not as just this like trauma that defines me, but as a piece of my history that could become positive, that like maybe right now at my current place in my trajectory, I can't see where these parts of my foundation might be pointing me. But if I take a broader view of myself, maybe I can take these struggles that I went through and see that they were training me to be optimized in a particular way that I could then use moving forward. What if I could take those things that didn't unfold the way that I'd planned, the way that I'd hoped, the way that anyone would hope, right? I didn't win the genetic lottery. I didn't win the economic lottery and get dropped into a wealthy household. I didn't win the genetic lottery. I got dropped in and I'm a minority. And I'm living in a society that doesn't treat my minority group very well. Um, I got dropped into a household with a family that wasn't the loving, protective, helpful, a supportive family that every child probably deserves, but instead built me out to have these traumatic and broken parts of myself. And some of them let me plug into the broken parts of the world in a way that I could actually fix them, that I could actually change things because I am close to them, because I know them. Maybe they've created in me, because of the pain that I've experienced, a capacity to empathize with the pain of others and to use that as a foundation to move forward and to build new things. Maybe all the struggles that I went through that didn't turn out the way that I had hoped turned out exactly the way that I needed them to. And I think the finicky bit is that this is by choice. You choose to take those parts of yourself that you don't like, that you are afraid of, that are based in fear, that are broken and incomprehensible, that are out of control, and turn them with effort into parts of the person that you want to be. See how they could fold into a whole human who maybe can turn them into strengths. Yeah? It's tough. It's tough. And all of this ideation kind of happened in an instant, which is why I sat there kind of shocked when Senshi said this. But I think it has the potential to be a little bit dangerous because you're wrapping up things that genuinely deserve to be like grieved for and mourned perhaps. Like, yeah, you didn't have that beautiful childhood and it's worth mourning for that. And then once you've mourned for it, maybe you can fold that in and make it a part of your strength. That's cool. It's cool. It feels like one of the most powerful lines in Dungeon Meshi so far, and I genuinely don't think that I've done it justice here um in my attempt to, but I've done what I can uh to talk about it, and maybe I'll bring it up later. I want to keep this line in mind as best as I can because it feels so powerful. And as we're sitting here about to move into a dream that's about guilt and shame and fear of the inevitable of death, it seems, the losses that you weren't able to prevent. Papa, PiP, Mama, right? Those are fears and mistakes that can really freeze you. They can make you go, I wasn't able to save them, and my attempt to save Fallen caused more pain. So I should stop trying, because every time I try, more bad stuff happens. If you look at things that way, you've hit a brick wall. But if you look at things this way, even the mistakes that you made just yesterday can be folded in to the journey that you're on. And while it might feel like a platitude to be like, it's all good, Fallen turning into a dragon thing is just fate. Yeah. Opening your heart to the possibility that something good could come out of it, I think it lightens your load. I think it lets you incorporate that, like, shameful part and start afresh with that as part of the foundation. Like, yes, that's part of the foundation. Terrible things happened to me. I made mistakes. Things went wrong. And yet, we're starting from there, and we know it, and we accept it, and we're going to move forward. And maybe we will have learned something from it. Maybe the next time we can do better. Maybe the next time we have this choice and this potential to engage with black magic, we do it differently. Like it was fate at work. Potent stuff, Senshi. Potent stuff. Maybe even Fallen, once she's free, might be able to reclaim her true self, because he sees that Asbbe is not overcome by whatever beast she's been fused with. The Lord of the Dungeon might have some insights. So all of this piles up onto Marcille, right? She's focused on black magic itself, and she's insufficient once more. She's incapable once more. Now, maybe it's because the spell that she's casting gets interrupted as she's trying to undo the magic that's on Asbbe. But either way, it goes bad, and a giant monster emerges, which is kind of exactly what happened with Fallen. I try to fix a thing that was fucked up because of forces outside of my control, black magic and stuff, try to use black magic to do it, and shit gets worse. I have to imagine that that piles on top of Marcille's fear, yeah? And also piles onto the pressure that's guiding her toward the solution to that fear, the insights, the extra knowledge held within that book. Ooh-wee. So that's exactly what we're going to do next, is dive deep into Marcille's subconscious via dream. Cool dream sharing situation that we've got going on here. I think that's pretty freaking cool. And in her dream, well, first there's Laios' dream, which is pretty straightforward. We'll go through it again and see if there's anything that I missed that feels really important. And then we emerge to find Marcille in black and white, which I think is really clever. It lets us make the monster really scary. As a little girl, helpless reads as helpless, which is probably how Marcille feels now. Helpless. Grappling with powers that are beyond her. In this room, in this space that's full of library books, full of information, full of magical knowledge, and none of it helps. She's still helpless running around these halls of information and knowledge and skill that she's constructed for herself. And in the midst of it all, she's still being chased by this unknowable threat, this monster that appears to be death. That's how Laios characterizes it, at least. And in the end, it is reaching for more power, more knowledge, the magician's book that solves the whole thing. And it's silly because she smacks the thing with the book. It's not like it manifests a spell that she doesn't know, because how would she? She's in a dream. She wouldn't be able to, like, she could make the idea of it, but it makes a lot more sense that, like, the book itself is the key. And that's all she can see it as, is like, that's the key. Holding this, I defeat the enemy and we're good. It's interesting. It's really interesting. It's really similar to some of the descriptions of, like, therapists working through dream logic with kids and working through dream logic with people in order to solve subconscious problems within the realm of the subconscious without even necessarily bringing them and bubbling them up toward the conscious part by arming the dream persona with like a shield and a sword so they can go and fight the monster that's killing them, right? Because that's how you, from what I know, I don't remember most of my dreams. I dream sometimes, but I don't remember most of them. And from what I know, the thing is, like, if you run from monsters in dreams, they get bigger for the most part. So you got to turn around and face them. So the part of the thing is psychologically equipping your inner child or your inner persona with the sword and shield or whatever it is that they need to go and fight the thing. They can survive the dream and untangle whatever knot their brain is working on in the background. The knot that Marcille is working on is pretty clear. She just caused Fallen to become an abomination, and she doesn't have the power to fix it. Okay, let's go through Laios's dream. Come back to the village! Okay, so we have this outside pressure to, like, stop doing this thing, but Fallen is still, forget about Fallen. You can't make it out here. You couldn't fit in the school. You couldn't fit in the army. Didn't know that Laios was in the army, so that's a piece. You don't even have the knack for exploring. I guess that's his gold peeler guy. Just like when you were gold peeling, your comrades will simply deceive you and take credit for your achievements. Every one of Laios's real fears is socially based. It's with other people. You don't have the skill for the dungeon is one thing, but mostly it's you don't have the skill to deal with your party members. You can't read people. You're clueless when it comes to reading people. And then Shuro appears, and yeah, me too, even me. You thought we were close friends, but I've always loathed you. And at this point, Laios starts yelling about it. We've already talked it out, and he realizes that things are wrong. This is a really cool depiction of realizing you're in a dream, and then dropping into lucidity. Super neat. Okay, Marcille be beepy. I love the way that we tuck her in. It's really silly. Time to enter her dreams, and this is the second or third time that Laios is doing a Fallen thing that he's learned from his sister directly. It's pretty cool. Little dancing satyrs are very cute. But now that it's a dream, I've got the upper hand. He calls forth an enormous monster, turns himself into a wolf. It's all super goofy and really cool, and drops into grayscale. The library. Marcille's dream. All the portraits on the walls are really interesting. I wonder, the pieces of them mirror what we're conversing about, like what the focus is throughout. Like the grave and mourning images when we're talking about the loss of her father. I wonder if there are other pieces. I'm not going to go through and, like, be really focused on them, but I'm interested. Also, I wonder if any of them are, like, really famous pictures that Marcille has just been transposed into. So she's a tiny girl hiding behind a, like, noble portrait of herself. Isn't that an image? Hiding behind a mask, like a wall, a fake. And under the surface is a terrified child. This place is dangerous. Leave, leave. Who are you? You need to wake up, and horrible. We start really messing with the background space, and a little later we'll truly warp it. I think it's very cool. It makes the whole thing feel like it's really operating under dream logic. Follow me, follow me. Bouncing, bouncing. I didn't even realize that it was Marcille until a little bit later. It swallowed Papa and PiP. We feel like, who the hell are they? A common dream about being chased. We've got mother and father. Wait, no, father. Wait, that's a human man. It came for... It swallowed Papa and PiP. It didn't... She doesn't say it swallowed Mama as well. Is Marcille a half-elf? That's a human man. I wonder if that's not Marcille, but instead her mother. I wonder if this is not Marcille either, but instead her mother. It could be. They look almost identical, but Like, it looks like it's Marcille. I think it makes more sense if she's hiding behind herself. Okay. Okay. But there's this image. That dude is, like, on his deathbed, isn't he? It's when Lio starts getting ageified. Marcille's great fear is that she's going to live longer than the people that she cares about. And it's a confirmed fear because she outlived her father. Dramatically. Pretty common but nasty. And we build our foundation. So what is the dream logic? Nightmares thrive on emotional wounds. We have to protect the wound. Stressful events and trauma trigger memories and give people nightmares. So we just have to protect the wound. It's dangerous, so don't try it. I'll take it down for you. Don't worry. I'm the bomb. And then the monster appears. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's crazy how much, like, tone and depth they created out of just the black and white shades here. Whoa. What a creature. What a creature. And here we've got this aging guy getting older and older. I think this is her crying on her mother's side. Probably because he's gone now. So it looms, it looks. We scream, we run. How the fuck should I know? Is that what she's afraid of? He immediately starts thinking of it like it's a classic monster. It's over the top, just like Fallen. But it'll be tough to take down. It wouldn't be a threat if she just realized it was all a dream. Yeah. We have her facing... I think it's herself, but... I think it might be her mom, too. It's interesting. Oh, and there he is, definitely aging and aging. We've come far enough. Nobody stands a chance. Nowhere is safe, because it's death itself. It comes for everyone. It's inescapable. Don't worry, we'll work together. It's slow, insatiable, disgusting. Bugs, bugs. No, it's a worm. He comes up with this as the idea, but he's wrong, isn't he? And so it touches him. And he ages. That makes her the most afraid. And in her fear, the whole space begins to warp and twist. Oh, it's awesome. It wants us to feel anxious and scared. Don't worry, you can use magic. You can take that thing down all by yourself. You're so powerful. You got this. Magic! And it gets worse. Why does it get worse? Because when she uses magic, it makes it worse, man. She doesn't have the skill that she needs. She doesn't believe in herself. And that's why real Marcille is so afraid. She doesn't know what she can do. When I tried, she ended up like this. I turned my best friend into a doll. And I made the monster stronger. I get it now. She feels guilty. She's afraid of death. Yeah? Or the inevitable. Yeah? Alright, kiddo. You can't run. You have to face it head on. Don't worry, there is nothing for you to fear. Even if you die, you can come back to life. Even Fallen is still alive. And you're used to seeing corpses. None of that seems to really help, does it? There's nothing to fear. I think that's the wrong strategy. It's scary as shit. I heard somebody fairly recently distinguish between bravery and fearlessness, or courage and fearlessness. Fearlessness is getting rid of the fear. Push it away. Remove it from you. Bravery is dealing with the fear. Reminds me of something else from something that I talk about fairly frequently is from Bradshaw's Healing the Shame That Binds You, is that he presents the idea of shamelessness as a failure stage, like a mistaken stage, where you pretend like your shame doesn't exist, bury it deeper, and then act as though you're totally shameless, and you can do, honestly, you can do whatever you want. Do any evil things, do any monstrous behavior, because you don't have any shame. Fuck that shit. You don't need it. But that's not the same as being without shame. Yeah. Or incorporating your shame into a healthy way. Fearlessness isn't going to work when you're actually just afraid. Ugh, what a blah. I'm really curious who did these. They remind me of some of the stuff in Dandadan, of all things. I'm hoping that we get to see those when we move over to Sakagaburu. He starts getting pulled in, and it's only pulling him because her fear isn't her own death. It's losing everyone else she cares about. Grab my hand. She pulls him away. Wait. It's not a creature at all. Everyone who ran with me gave up, and they were all swallowed. Now we turn our attention to those frames in the background again. I studied a lot of magic because everyone was lost. Just trying to build myself up so that I would never have to be afraid of that thing again, you know? I'd have power, but it didn't work. It turned Fallen into this, so I don't know what I can do. Did your father pass away young? And we see it right there, framed in the background of her mind. Mama told me at the funeral that I run faster than everyone else, that I'd have to watch a lot of people go away. She's talking about her lifespan, right? I think so. It's the way that she's framing it. PiP's a bird. Not afraid of her death, afraid of yours. So now it's like goop of eyes. It's swarming. It's very much like Helsing. Your fear will just empower it. Don't worry, you can do something. You're incredible, Marcille. Oh, I love the goop of it too. Looks very much like the like homunculus in Full Metal Alchemist, or Wrath, or Pride, depending on which FMA when it's the goopy one. Wah! You're great. You're incredible. Look at all these books. Look at all this information you've built. My dream was empty, but you've been filling your mind with power. Have faith in yourself. You've got this. No, we can't. You have to run. I'm not ready. I don't have the thing that I need. If only I had the same book that he does. What a temptation. What a powerful thing. I could use magic more effectively, but then do it. Wish for it. Don't be afraid. You can do better next time. No! She reaches out for Laios, but instead pulls out the tool. The right tool for the job. The hope. The thing that she now needs to strive for. Because she doesn't know what's within it, but she knows that at least in her dreams, at least in her mind, it looks at her. It is what she needs to wield in order to defeat the monster that she fears. And it, bam, woof, light. And the creature is revealed to be an amalgam of all the monsters that we fought up till now, all the things that have scared her. Whoosh. And it's silly, but they awaken. Reminded by the nightmare smoke, Marcille remembers a strange version of her dream. But somewhere deep inside, she's settled. She has a new goal. She has a path that might lead toward fixing the problems that she's caused. All that fear and all that terror has made her realize what she needs to do. So, we'll move from there, having settled something inside of Marcille. I said at the beginning that I was hoping we might turn our attention to this, and I didn't think we'd do this much to turn our attention to it. This is a beautiful way to dive literally into the unconscious of one of our characters, to make it, to manifest it as a visual, to give us a world or a space where it exists, very much like what Dandadan does with these like spiritual realms and stuff. To create a space where it's all visually manifested, all visually expressed, and then fold that into a lesson, a thing that the character learns and fixes internally that's going to change the way that she works in the future. But it all happens in that subconscious space. So we'll have to see what it turns into as we move forward. And now the child Marcille has a fluffy Laios and a powerful book. Okay, let's check it out on Sakagaburu, see if we can find the big monster doing big monster things, because I really want to see that. Okay, we're starting off. Character acting, Marcille stretching, and floating over, and okay, cool. Tatsudo, Kawakubo, Clomp. So silly looking. And then more fumbling and bumbling. Oh, the what? And then the diggy, 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 diggy. Cute. Did Kawakubo do doggies earlier at some point? I think so. Okay. Artist Unknown and Yo Himuro. This is where she pulls it free. Everything in this whole set of sequences is really crisp. Whoosh. Kind of looks at her. And then she BLAM! Okay, nice. Oh, this is the goop. This is the first goop. The primary goop. Where it goes blah. And it's Artist Unknown. God damn it. You know, I think there's a scene with like a tentacled fish man who opens his mouth and it goes like blah. And I think that's the same person who did this because of the way that the thing goes blah. But I don't know, and I'm not gonna be able to find it. Also, Kawakubo. Oh, for the whole spirit occurring and stuff? Or no, at least 100 to 102 is Kawakubo. And then somebody said the style looked really consistent all the way throughout. So they've presumed that everything else is Kawakubo as well. But at least this first spearing is Kawakubo. The emergence of the thing is really cool. And no cut for the darkness with eyes and stuff. So unfortunately we don't get a name for big monster being big and monstrous, but okay. That's fine. So, there is our episode of Dungeon Meshi, a deep dive into Marcille's subconscious, some history for her that might lead me to believe that she is either adopted somehow or is actually a half-elf, which would be really interesting. And we've sort of settled some of that guilt and fear that's driving Marcille, that's at the core of her since, well, maybe for a long time before what happened with Fallen, but ever since she made Fallen into a monster and blames herself for it, there's been a darkness within her, and maybe we've alleviated it a little bit. At least we've pointed her in a direction that might be successful. She's realized where she doesn't have the capacity that she needs to, and instead of that freezing her up and making her feel like she just has to run away and not do anything, she's pointed herself at the book. A book that I think is horrifying, like eldritch manifestation of power, law, chaos, and all things evil. Boy, is it a cool book. And maybe it'll help. Or maybe it'll turn Marcille into a monster. We'll have to wait and find out. So, I'll see you next time for the next episode of Dungeon Meshi with episode 20. We're getting pretty close to the end here. I really like this show. It's kind of the most fun show that I've watched in a long time, and I appreciate having it so much. It's really cool to have a place to go that feels comfy, but also makes you think, also deals with serious shit that isn't just comfy, but instead explores a whole range of emotions and intrigue and experiences and stuff. This is a cool show. Thanks for watching it with me. I'll see you for the next episode next time. Much love. Peace.